All right, back by popular demand, the great Ryan Smith in the house on the Krueg Show.
Applause for myself.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to the Krueg Show. I am Larry Krueger, and I am San Francisco. Oh, no, that's and he is Ryan Smith. And today, you heard me if you were following. I was at 95.7 The Game doing the 12 to noon show with the great Guru in the house, and we had a really good time. That was the first show I ever did with Guru. And check it out tomorrow. I'll be there tomorrow, Tuesday and Wednesday, noon to 3, talking sports with Guru. And Guru's a great guy, man. I really enjoyed doing the show with him. A lot of fun. And so while I was doing that, that means that I was not down in Santa Clara at practice. But you know who was? Ryan Smith. What's up, Ryan? How are you, man?
What's up? Oh, yeah. Today was a fun one. It started out a little apocalyptic, you know. The rain, it sort of started raining and people started...
Weird weather day, huh?
Yeah, I started getting a little bit paranoid. Like, oh, do I need to go get a plastic bag for my camera or something? But, you know, it only lasted like 15 minutes. But, you know, I thought that I got a lot out of today. And that's not just me trying to brag because you weren't there. I think that there was a lot today.
Well, good. Hopefully you got twice as much because we were only at 50% of full staff, but we got 100% of the story right now for all Niner fans on the Krueg Show. We're going to bring you Niner camp all summer long and Niner football all season long live from Santa Clara. Now, I wasn't there today, but I will be there the majority of the time, and Rye was there today. Today was not just any other day, folks. Today was the beginning of pads. And to me, and there's an old football scout who one time said to me, you know what? Football without pads ain't football. And that's really it. So what you see at the mini camp and what you see at rookie mini camp and shells and shorts and shells, it's not the same as when you put on the pads and start going live in training camp. This is football. So you were there front and center for the 49ers as they put on the pads for the very first time. And before we get into the footage, Len's going to put up some of the footage here. We're going to let people see, you know, a good portion of training camp as we break it down a little bit. But what was the story to you? Before we get into the video, what stood out to you? What's the haps in Santa Clara?
I got to reverse engineer this thing and start with the press conferences. Now, granted, I don't know, because normally when I'm watching, you know, when I was a fan and I'm watching these press conferences at home, I'm like, okay, platitude. All right. They're just, you know, they're not really saying anything. I don't know if it's just me being in person, but I felt all three of the guys today at the podium were super authentic and you could just feel it. Ebukam, Greenlaw, and Trent Williams. All three were great. And I think that okay, so this is where I want to start. I'm going to start with big Trent Williams. So I have one clip pulled up about him talking about Aaron Banks.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Everyone wants to hear. Before we get to that clip, though, let me just run through a couple of the other things that he brought up that I found were interesting. So somebody asked him about Jason Poe and, you know, the fact that he took him on the private jet to go work out. So what I didn't realize is that actually so Trent Williams said that is an open invite. It's a standing invite to anybody that wants to go work out with me. And the two guys that took him up on it were Jason Poe and Spencer Burford. Now, Spencer Burford is Trent Williams was talking about him. He's like, this kid he's so confident. He doesn't like realize the situation he's in. And
great. He doesn't know he shouldn't be there.
I know. And he said he was great in minicamp and he's been great. He's just built a ton of trust with everyone. And he was just really praising Ebukam. He also was really praising Poe, but, you know, it seems like Poe, you know, he may get a shot at some point this year, but, you know, Burford is the guy. I kept writing down who was playing on the offensive line because it's a big deal with McGlinchey there and Trent there. And it's like, okay, this looks legit. They've got pads on. Who's on the offensive line? Burford was on it every single time. I didn't see him miss one snap. So Burford is a guy. That's the first thing I want to start with Trent Williams. The second thing is that he said, well, first of all, Drake Jackson went up against him a little bit today. Drake Jackson actually had some snaps with the ones. And, when he went against Trent, I mean, come on, Trent swallowed him up. But, he had good things to say. He said, he's one of those guys that's like, he just he goes about his business. He's a worker, doesn't say anything. It's like exactly what you want out of a rook. And he's like, geez, man, like, do you guys really need more, like more defensive line? Like, and then the other thing is, Trent really was saying they've got the best. He just was saying it very, very matter of fact. Just, like, we're going up against the best defense in the NFL. And that was another thing he was talking about Trey. And Trey struggles, and he was super happy with the way Trey's been playing because he's just like, look, the defense, they're ahead of the offense right now, but the defense is like the best defense in the league type defense. And somebody asked him, is this the most talented team you've played on? And he said, yes. So the big expectations from Trent Williams. Now, let's get into.
Let's talk about Burford for a second. I called him up on my computer here. He was a tackle at University of Texas, San Antonio, 6'4.5", 304 pounds. 2021, he was first team All-Conference USA selection. Started 11 games at left tackle, 1 at right tackle. So now they're playing him at right guard. And he, this is a guy with NFL pedigree, right? Sam Hurd is his cousin, former Cowboy receiver. Adrian Waddle is also a former NFL player, another cousin of his. He was a 4-star recruit at Wagner High School in San Antonio for college. And so he's the first recruit of his caliber to sign at University of Texas, San Antonio, and then was all conference as a freshman, started 10 games at left guard his true freshman year. Honorable all-conference mention in 2019, started 11 of 12 games at left guard. And then the Conference USA coaches voted him second-team all-selection in 2020, started at right tackle, 2 games at right tackle, 8 games at left tackle, first-team all-league in 2021. 12 games, 1 at right tackle, 11 at left tackle. So interesting player, long arms, great energy, great athletic ability, great foot quickness, great agility. This guy really looks the part. I mean, really broad shoulders, 82-inch wingspan. I mean, this is a guy, he's got basketball feet, they say. And he explodes into his targets on pulling blocks and obviously impressed him quite a bit at the minicamp. Sorry to interrupt you. I just thought interesting stuff there on Spencer Burford.
He was very, definitive about he won it. He won the job in OTAs. Like that's just really impressive. And then he said he's only gotten better since then. And, it might be one of those things where it's like, sometimes you have these Damian Lillards or Steph Currys, these guys that come out of a small college in basketball, you see it a lot, where it's like they're so clearly the best player on their team and in their conference. And it's like, they come into the NBA and they just have this crazy confidence. Whereas like these guys, maybe if you went to a stacked Kentucky team and you're the 5th option, maybe, those are a lot of times the guys that are like, I think he's going to be a better NBA player than he was, a college player. And there could be some of that with Burford, because, I mean, if he just was an absolute stud, just a man among boys, and then he rolls into OTAs confident, kills it in OTAs, he has no reason to be thinking that, he's going up against this unbelievable defense. So, yeah, I think that's awesome. I think it's really awesome. And the one thing I missed about Trent, actually, the opening question was about Debo. And, Trent was kind of just like, Debo, like, our relationship is like I'm his older brother. And, I'm always there to talk to Debo. And, I talked a little bit with the front office. And, I didn't want to, get, I'm trying to stay out of it. I'm not, trying to interfere at all. But, I gave my input on the contract and whatnot. But he said he kind of just, told Debo, look, man, this is just worry about. I know there's always going to be media talk and all this stuff, especially now that you're, this all-pro player. But, you got to just worry about like what's going on in-house. And that's just where you got to keep your focus. So I want to make sure I didn't miss that. So
good stuff. Let's take a look at some of the video from camp. Or do you want to play? You got another cut?
Yeah, I've got a cut of.
Let's hear another cut.
Yeah.
Before we get to the video.
Okay, so this is Trent Williams on Aaron Banks. Made me feel pretty good.
What have you seen from Aaron Banks in his second year?
I think Aaron Banks is really showing out this camp. I really think he's one of the better linemen right now. When you look in the group, who's really bringing it this camp. think he started by OTA by showing up and being noticeably different. Then he followed it up with another good 4 weeks after OTA, now he's in camp, and he's noticeably different. You know, he's still a young player. Mistakes still going to happen, but his jump from year 1 to year 2 gives everybody a lot of confidence in him.
What do you mean by noticeably different?
His body. You look at his body composition, you can tell that he worked. It's one thing to lose weight. It's one thing to lose weight, add muscle. And you can tell that's what he did, and I think that's what's allowing him to take advantage of all the talent that he has in that body, and he's going to ultimately reach his ceiling, which I think can be really good.
How much does someone like?
Okay, so that was my cut that I chose because I think we also it's improperly titled, but that's a big question. Is like what's going on with Banks, and it's just with so much going on, it's hard to just really zone in on what's going on in the interior of the offensive line, which is what MF asked. How's the interior line looking? Do you have
Banks is key. Well, I mean, it's funny. That kind of just goes right along on what Trent Williams was saying about Banks in the minicamp, which is that it's not just that he's, dropped some LBs. It's that he's just kind of rebuilt his body. He's dropped the bad weight, put on good weight, so he's a lot more effective. Where I think, before, he probably had a lot of baby fat on him and not enough muscle, and now he's losing that fat and putting on more muscle mass and more strength. He's probably becoming more sudden, quicker. He's learning the offense now. He's got a better idea of what he's doing. So I'm sure overall Aaron Banks just looks dramatically improved. It's really encouraging to hear that because, as he continued to be a guy who wasn't even up on game day, I think the questions started to get louder as the season went on. Is this guy a bust? Is this guy Joshua Garnett? Yeah. And then John Lynch late in the year basically, stood up and said, hey, look, I know there's been a lot of conjecture about Aaron Banks, but we still have huge high hopes for Aaron Banks, and don't read into the fact that he's not active and not playing as some kind of statement from us that we're disappointed or think that this guy's going to be a bust. He's like, on the contrary, we really think he's going to be a special player. We think he's going to be a very good player for us for a long time. So, that talks cheap until you do it on the field. So it's good to see that Trent Williams is least impressed by Aaron Banks, and Banks is a key guy. If Banks can be solid, then they got a really solid left side because Trent Williams, as we know, is the best in football.
Yep. And now speaking of things that are encouraging, let's listen to Ebukam talking about Drake Jackson.
What's been your impression of Drake Jackson? Trent was saying how studious he is. He's got the right disposition.
He's a perfect fit for his team. Like every time that he makes a move, we're just like, man, that dude, he can bend, he can do it all, man. And I'm excited for what's to come for him. Because he had a couple moves today. I was just like, dang, bro, like he got some good hits, bro. And he's like a sponge. He just sells to everything. He's like, all right, better, let's get it. And he doesn't complain. He just gets to it, and I love that.
Nick said he actually admired him for his bend when he came in. Stuff.
Oh my God! What the heck is this? Commercials on our own thing. Well, anyway, let's just he
That's
goes
pretty
on
good though. So Ebukam, by the way, looks like just like he can lift the entire gym. I mean, he is just absolutely packed on the muscle. There's your guy who's like pound for pound, maybe the strongest guy on the entire team. And just watching him lift, I mean, he's just a crazy lifter. So that's good to hear because Drake Jackson if Drake Jackson is a force, the 49ers are going to be a noticeably better defense.
Yeah. And he goes on to talk about how like Nick Bosa even was saying that he had more bend than him when he was a rookie, which is crazy. And then just a real quick Ebukam, before I get to the last cut, which will lead into the Greenlaw, the one that gets me really fired up. So he just sounds like, he was talking about how last year, for example, he had 4.5 sacks. And he's going to have a much bigger role, obviously, this year with Arden Key moving to Jacksonville. He said that because in college, he was a defensive end. He had to transition to being an outside linebacker when he got to the Rams. And he had to unlearn everything that he learned in college. And then again, when he went over to the Niners, he said that all they preach is you're on this D-line, you are not allowed to think. You have to just go. Everybody's going. It's quickness. It's being fast. It's getting after it.
All gas, no brakes.
All gas, no brakes. And he said that, it's a hard thing when you're linebacker, you're thinking about the play, you're thinking about all this stuff. And he said this year, like, he's just feeling, he feels like he's going to have a monster year. So that is awesome. And then he just seems like he is freaking so locked in. He's just like, he was like pretty serious the entire time. And here, this is an interesting comment that'll get Niners fans very excited. This next one.
That position during the second half of last season.
Yeah, definitely. And because of that, I was able to play faster. I know what I felt like. And only thing that's really driving us right now is I'm trying to get to this. And I feel like that's what's driving everybody as a team. So everybody's kind of like on edge right now, in a good way, because we're sharpening the sword. So in the season, we see ready to go to a fast start. Keep going.
What changes are just going fast?
Okay, well, so that was like the main cut.
I'm getting kind of a little bit of an echo on it. Are you getting an echo on that at all?
Oh, you got an echo? Oh,
yeah.
I didn't hear the echo. Basically, he was just saying like, it was a completely different question, and then he was just like, the only thing he started talking about Kobe and about how he like, he's just this Kobe mentality, and he's talking about how this team, it's like for him and for like the rest of especially like the D linemen, they all talk about how it doesn't even feel like a job. It's just it feels like they're just coming to go have fun, like it's like high school football. And he said everyone is locked in and they're on edge in kind of in a good way, because everyone's like, we got to keep locked in because like we have a very good shot. If we do everything right, we have a very good shot of winning the Super Bowl. And then this next cut, this is the last cut I'm playing. This is Dre Greenlaw being asked about that being on edge thing. And then this is what he has to say.
Yeah, and that's just my approach. I think maybe you see it's a really much.
Samson mentioned that everybody's on edge in a good way because there's already discussion about Super Bowl. Do you feel that?
Yeah, everybody's on edge because everybody knows how great we could be. And I mean, it's just, you can feel it throughout the defense and throughout the whole team. We know the defense that, in order for us to get to where we want to get to, we're going to have to play that top of the defense. That we kind of fell short of last year, but you saw glimpses of it that we're more than capable of doing. So, Super Bowl is a long way, but it's definitely we taking it game by game, play by play. We're just trying to dominate. If we can do that every play, then we'll look up in the Super Bowl.
Trey, the secondary has been playing excellent in coverage.
Okay, all right. So that's the last cut I took. Just basically, everybody's locked in, and it's very clear. This is not. Okay, let's see what Trey can do this year, and if we can make the playoffs and he shows something, that's good. This is like they think they have as good a shot as anyone to win.
They were in the NFC Championship game last year. They had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter of the NFC Championship game. So if they're thinking Super Bowl, guess what? They should be thinking Super Bowl. And even if even if you got Trey Lance there, ultimately what it really comes down to is, can Trey play efficient football? Maybe Trey this year might be a little bit more of a game manager, and maybe there'll be more on his plate in future seasons. This year, it might be a heavy dose of the run game, play action pass out of that, lean on your defense, play ball control. It might be that kind of an offense. Everybody's expecting Trey to go down the field and take chances, and I think he's got the ability, definitely long-term, to do that kind of thing. But if I were Shanahan this year, I think I would run the ball, and you get to third down, play maybe a little play action pass, and just try to keep your offense on the field as long as possible, long extended drives, wear people down, and keep your defense on the sidelines. Because if you can get to the fourth quarter with a lead, and you've got Nick Bosa and maybe Drake Jackson at full force coming off the other edge, who knows? That might be enough right there. And then especially with having a true number one corner in Charvarius Ward, it's a rush and cover game on defense, and they've helped their rush up front, and maybe they've helped their coverage on the back end. And who knows? I may be able to carry them this year.
Yeah, and another thing Ebukam was saying is last year he said you just can't imagine the amount of times where, the D line would talk about literally half a split second. If we had just half a split second of more time, we would have gotten a sack. We would have gotten a strip. We would have caused, a deflected ball that gets in the air, gets intercepted. So he was saying this year, just having the secondary, he said literally all they need is a tiny split second. And he said, man, playing out there in training camp, it sure feels like they've got it.
By the way, Pud Fatty on the chat says, nice fig palm, Ryan. It looks like you've got a fig palm tree off your right shoulder. There you go.
We've got some weird stuff back there. There's tomatoes growing and yeah.
All right.
All right, let's roll some footage and then talk about how the actual camp went. And
nice.
Again, I'm sorry about the echo. I don't know why that happened.
That's all right. We'll get it ironed out. People wearing Trey Lance jerseys at camp.
Yeah, I just decided I was going to film on my way in. Why not? This is not very edited, guys. So, but no, it's mostly good stuff.
This is going to be like an Oliver Stone movie, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But okay, so a couple things that stood out to me. So I was watching Drake Jackson. He's faster than I realized. And he tried doing some, he was doing moves and his footwork, he was getting a little caught, but even him going in and making mistakes, he still was able to recover. And, when the quarterback gets pushed out of the pocket, man, he is there. And there's the great Kyle Posey. He's there in 5 seconds, or in a second. Like he looks like he has the potential to be awesome. So I was really happy that Ebukam was talking about him.
And Debo right there.
Oh yeah. Debo looked good. Ayuk looked incredible. Ayuk made some unreal catches.
Can you roll that back, by the way?
What was?
I don't know if you can roll that back.
I think Len's the one controlling it right now.
Look for 83 in this drill, and then you can see the quickness of Tay Martin.
Yeah.
He wears 83. I think he's coming up right here.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of quickness. 83 is the guy to watch for the 49ers in the preseason at the wide receiver spot.
So I've got some. This is. Let's start with some things, some negatives I took away.
Okay.
Danny Gray looks a little uncomfortable. He looked like he got a little shook early, had a drop, and then I was just watching. What are the odds of me actually watching, the special teams drills where, they've got the ball chucker that just sends it in the air to simulate a punt. And it was, I was looking because I was like, oh, I wonder who they have as their returner possibilities. And it was Ray McLeod.
Brandon Ayuk.
Of course, Brandon Ayuk. Who's 13 again? Oh, Johnson. Johnson was there. And then Danny Gray was there. So I was like, ooh, that's fun. Like speedster Danny Gray. Maybe he's going to get a shot to be a returner. He missed 3 in a row.
It's not his game. I was going to say he's never really been a return man, I don't think. No.
But yeah, he dropped 3 in a row, and it seemed like it kind of put him in a little bit of a funk maybe for the rest of practice. But again, it's one day. Also, Jordan Mason.
What did you think? Rookie running back out of Georgia Tech.
Okay, this is a quick change for me, but I already am thinking that Jordan Mason may get more time than Ty Davis Price.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Ty Davis Price was their second round pick.
I know.
Or third round pick? Second round pick?
It was. I was thinking about it. I was like, God, are we really going to have another
third round?
Yeah. Are we really going to have another Mostert Sermon situation? Not Mostert.
You really like Trey Mason that much? I like Trey Mason too. He's very quick, great balance, can catch the ball out of the backfield, 6'1", close to 230. Productive player at Georgia Tech. If you told me that, the Niners have whiffed on some high draft picks, and they've done really well with some undrafted guys. So it wouldn't be totally crazy if Jordan Mason wound up being, the better of the two backs. But that doesn't speak well for Ty Davis Price.
So why I say that, because Ty Davis Price looked incredible without pads, and again, it's one day, but his balance. Either he was overthinking stuff, or he may have a issue with his balance. He went down like the second, he got to the line of scrimmage a couple times where he was getting, he got one shot with the ones, he was going with the twos. He was just falling down. He dropped a really easy pass. That would have been a touchdown. He just looked a little bit shaken, and Jordan Mason could not look more of the opposite. Like his balance is incredible, Larry. I'm glad you said that. His balance is incredible. He looks super confident catching passes, and he just looks like he's just got a freaking motor. So I don't know. He's got the body type. So I guess that's one thing that's sort of that. It's interesting. I mean, I don't, I'm not going to make some giant declarations one day, but yeah. So TDP, slight arrow down, Jordan Mason, arrow up is what I'd say.
The Jordan Mason, idea that this kid could be something this year it's not totally crazy. I mean, it's not like this is a guy who didn't do it in college. He did do it in college. The question is, can he do it in the pros? But he's got, good balance as far as 5'11", 225. Interesting player. He really was an interesting player when I saw him. I saw him at minicamp. I thought, man, this is a very underrated football player. There's just no question about it.
Yeah, and what was his deal again in college? I remember I looked it up, but there was some reason why he wasn't. Was he splitting time with somebody that was really good, or?
I'd have to look into his reps there, but the thing about him was that he broke a tackle at Georgia Tech on 44% of his rushes, according to Pro Football Focus. That was the best mark in the NFL. Do we have audio rolling in the back?
Do you hear something?
No. I just thought you were asking me. But he broke a tackle on 44% of his rushes. That was the best mark in the NFL, in the nation, in college football. In addition to that, he averaged 4.4 yards after contact. That was 8th best in the nation. So, it's and he had to work behind a Georgia Tech offensive line that was injured much of the year and wasn't full strength. So behind a less than stellar line, this guy did a lot of impressive things. I mean, breaking tackles, yards after contact. It's funny. He received virtually no buzz, and yet became one of the best running backs in the ACC. So it really is interesting. You think of all the other backs in the ACC when he was there, Cam Akers and Travis Etienne at Clemson and A.J. Dillon and Javian Hawkins and DJ Dallas and these guys. There was a lot of talented ACC running backs, and they all got more love than Jordan Mason. So he basically, compared to those guys, he got very little love, and yet he's got production. So, I mean, to me, he's a really interesting player, and a guy that I'll be watching for in the preseason. You really can't tell until you get to the preseason who's got it, who's got the ability to kind of elevate. But look for him in the preseason. Jordan Mason out of Georgia Tech. He's a really underrated player for sure.
So I was looking up his stats, and his best year was 2019, and then 2020, 2021. It seemed like his touches went down significantly, and his touchdowns and all yards and all that. And it was apparently something to do with some other guy. Jahmyr Gibbs, who transferred to Bama. Yeah, he just transferred to Bama. So I guess once he got there, it was just sort of a weird situation where they were splitting carries. But, we've seen it before with big time guys, Alvin Kamara. We've seen it with people where, they were slept on because for whatever reason, they were in a quarter or a running back split,
Well, the nice thing too with Mason, he's got power, right? I mean, yes, Georgia Tech used him in short yardage. Georgia Tech used him on the goal line. They didn't utilize him. Interestingly enough, G-Tech didn't use him very much as a pass catcher. No. But he showed that trait that he easily could be a pass catcher during his time with the 49ers. And then during the Georgia Tech Pro pro day going into the draft, he tested incredibly well. I mean, he was sub 4.5 on the 40. I think it was like 4.48, something like that. And then he put up 21 reps on the bench press, which would have tied him for the most among all the running backs at this year's combine. So,
really?
Yeah, this guy's a strong player for sure. And just only because the running back position has been devalued, that, he wasn't drafted. It's funny. I mean, he's a physical runner in short yardage situations. He's a good goal line back. And I think there's some upside potential for him as a receiver. And yet he got no love for the most part going into the draft. So it just kind of shows that, it's tough to always make an impact on the scouts. Sometimes the guys get overlooked. I mean, heck, Raheem Mostert went undrafted.
Yeah.
Jeff Wilson went undrafted. If the 49ers are known for anything, they find running backs after the draft that can do the thing. I mean, he wears 41, by the way. Check him out if you in the preseason. Jordan Mason,
Niner Joe. I think that's all of us, but at the same time, I mean, it's hard to say that they it's weird. It is weird how Shanahan will take these shots with running backs and then they don't seem to turn out, or they're not what we once think or what we thought they would be. And then it does always seem like the 5th through 7th round or even undrafted guys seem to be the home runs. It's interesting.
Yeah. A lot of times it's about hunger too.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he looks like a guy who just loves football. So also somebody asked, would it shock you guys if Burford started week 1? We kind of touched on this at the beginning, but at this point,
it wasn't a surprise.
Yeah, at this point, I'd be, he would have to start playing. Something drastic would have to change for him, honestly, probably to not start week 1.
I'll say this: if you saw him at the mini camp, you thought, "Wow, look at this guy! He definitely has an NFL body." And then when you look at his tape and you realize this guy played left tackle, he played right tackle, he played left guard, he played right guard. I mean, this guy's played everywhere. Then you look at that team, Texas San Antonio, they had Sincere McCormick. They just ran the hell out of the football, and the 49ers do as well. So this guy's going to be raw. He definitely could put on more weight, but when you look at the tenacity that if you go back to the draft coverage and you look at the highlight package they put out on him, it shows how nasty he is and how he finishes.
Larry, sorry to interrupt this, but this was an annoying thing I realized after. My camera auto focused on Grant's face, but that's in the background. If you look, that's Trey. He's about to throw a ball to, I believe it's Ayuk, corner of the end zone. But it's just focused straight on Grant. Sorry, I interrupted you.
It's just because I thought you wanted to take a picture of the back of Grant's head.
Exactly.
That is awesome. Glass half full guy donates $1.99. With issues at defensive tackle, would you sign Sue? Ndamukong Suh. Well, I will say this. I looked at the list of tackles that are available, and, there's a number of veteran tackles that are out there that, they could get if they want to get them. I think Sheldon Richardson, Suh, there's 3 or 4 other veteran defensive tackles that are out there. They picked up Akeem Spence today. I don't know if they talked about that, but Akeem Spence, was a decent player in college, and I tweeted out a video about him. If you follow me on Twitter at SportsLarryK, you can check that out. But I would look at Suh, because I think the 49ers, you want to be fortified inside, and a guy like Suh could help you a little bit as an interior rusher, but he could help you a lot as a rundown player. So, if you can't stop the run inside, you're really hurting. Kinlaw is their best chance to step in for DJ Jones. But what if Kinlaw has knee problems again? What if he misses time? How fortified are they at that interior tackle spot opposite Eric Armstead so they can stop the run? I mean, that's a big question. To me, it's one of the major questions of the year, because if this team can't stop the run, up the middle, then suddenly you can do other things on a defense if that defense can't stop the run, if they've got to actually commit more guys to stopping the run. So I'm a little concerned about losing DJ Jones and if Kinlaw can step in.
No, I mean, absolutely. And I'm sorry for looking down. I'm just trying to look at my notes. I should have organized them better. I was trying to see. I was trying to write down who the starting D line was today because Greenlaw was out. I think it was a scheduled rest day for him.
Probably. Well, Armstead's out too, right?
Armstead's out too. So
was Bosa, Drake Jackson? Was Drake Jackson in the ones?
Drake Jackson. It seemed like Drake Jackson started with the ones. They were trying to, I think they were trying to give him a look. Trying to give him a look at Big Trent and McGlinchey and see how he does. But for the most part, it was Ebukam. And then, it was
Ebukam and Bosa. And then it's Greenlaw and Armstead are the ones. The twos should be Ridgeway and Givens, but Ridgeway's out too.
It was Givens and
Diche?
I think it was Kim Diche. Sorry, I just know it was Hyder today. It was Hyder and Givens.
Hyder. Okay. Hyder's kind of a hybrid. He could play inside or outside.
Yep. So, all right, Len, if you want, you can roll. Oh, you could restart it, or you could roll the one from Friday we didn't show. But okay, so and then the Trey Lance of it all, we do have to talk about a little bit, right? It was sort of, I don't know if you're like seeing tweets, and it was it's sort of more of the same, Except for it was a very
more the same in that he was accurate at times, inaccurate at times.
Yeah, it was a very like Trey Lance-y day. Like he had a couple throws, including one that was like a 40-yarder to the boundary to Ayuk. That was, an incredible throw, an incredible catch. He threaded some in when they were doing those red zone drills. He threaded a few passes into like Kittle and Ayuk, but he also, overthrew a lot. Had a few picks. This was one thing I couldn't really get a grip on because he was bailing. So it seemed like he was bailing so early and not standing in there. But to be honest, when I was like really watching the plays, I couldn't really blame him for any of it. Yeah, it seemed like there was pressure, and he seemed like he was calm. His feet seemed calm. But he was definitely, it seemed like his first instinct was to, if nothing's there. Okay, I'm going to start rolling to the right, or I'm going to run up the middle. And it's hard to, also, of course, they're not going to tackle him. So it's hard to even tell like, what would have happened in real football if that happens. But one thing I'm noticing, and I actually overheard Grant talking about it, is he had a theory that Trey may struggle going left and throwing. And that Kaepernick kind of has
right-handed.
Yeah, because he's right-handed. And, I did notice, I watching even like your Purdy and they'll have plays where they're rolling left and they found guys. Trey rolled right every time that there was a rollout or an improvisational situation. He always went right. And I just think about like Russell Wilson, Kyler, these guys, like they go anyway, and they just always know how to get back to the place they need to be, whether it's spinning around. So maybe that's something to look for with Trey. Seems like he's maybe a little uncomfortable going left, and he maybe was going right a little bit too much today.
Well, as far as you're always going to feel more comfortable rolling to your throw side. If you're a right-handed quarterback, you're going to feel more comfortable rolling right. It's just an easier throw as opposed to rolling right. And you're a left-handed quarterback. You got to balance your body and then throw. It's like a two-step deal. So it's always easier to if you're right-handed to roll right, if you're left-handed to roll left. Dash left, dash right. It's definitely a little bit easier. But then a lot of times some quarterbacks have mastered that throw where they're rolling and have to turn it back around and kind of square the shoulders and find their target.
Yeah.
So it's just whatever. Every quarterback's a little different as far as comfort.
Yeah. And Tom Pierce. I love the organic support.
Yeah, you just hit the like button and subscribe, everyone. It really helps the Krueg Show get seen by more people. Thank you, Tom Pierce.
A couple of people are talking about Jimmy. In order for Jimmy to get paid, you have to make the 53. I think that I'm getting the sense that there's something in place with Jimmy, but maybe it's not finalized yet, or maybe there are discussions with a few teams. I'm not sure, but it seems like that the Debo signing was kind of an indication. Everything has been an indication. Jimmy's at the facility, but he's not at practice. So he's
he's there working out during practice, or is he working out in the morning?
I think he's working out in the morning. Somebody saw him. I don't remember who, but I think
they want their price clearly, and it's a negotiation. They're going to negotiate until they get their price. They want their price, and I don't know what that price is. I don't know if they just want to hold on to him. I mean, look at it this way: if you felt like if he was cut, he was going to wind up with Seattle, you may want to just hold him as long as you can. Kind of delay that for as long as you can, as a competitive advantage.
I mean, so I obviously I'm not like a cap expert or anything. I just sort of got the feeling a lot of people it was a common narrative that they couldn't pay Debo until they got rid of Jimmy. So,
and obviously that was an incorrect deal, at least in the short term.
Yeah. Okay. So interesting. I mean,
MF says thoughts on Sudfeld against Purdy for the backup job. I'm on record as saying Purdy will win that job. I just think Purdy's the ball comes out on time. The ball comes out accurately. He plays with poise. He's played a lot of big time football. He had a high completion percentage at Iowa State, had a good touchdown to interception ratio. As I said, he's played a ton of football. I think Purdy for sure beats out Sudfeld, despite the financial commitment the team has made to Sudfeld. What are you seeing on the practice field? What did you see today?
It's kind of hard to get a huge grasp, because I honestly think that position is going to be more about who is going to do the better job. Sort of being Trey's not mentor or assistant type deal. Who's going to get him best prepared? That sort of thing. And from that angle, I'm not sure, but from what I'm watching on the field, Purdy looks pretty darn good. Like, as long as he doesn't have to throw a deep ball, which is, a non-existent part of his game. If he's just getting the ball out quick, he can do a poor man's Jimmy G impression. I kind of like Purdy.
Yeah, I do too. It's funny. I didn't think much of him in the draft lead up, but then after I started studying him after the draft, and you start looking at, just the way he played with poise, he's definitely a tough kid. He takes kind of that linebacker-like mentality, so that's good. He'll extend plays. He'll try to move well within the pocket to give his receivers time to kind of open up downfield. He's got good collegiate production for sure. So hopefully he can translate that to the NFL. Yeah,
no, seriously. Oh, another thing I took away, I kept saying, wow, Ray McLeod looks pretty good. And he's, they're running him in the first team. It was definitely different without pads. You can tell he's got like a little bit of a strength issue, and he gets jammed up. And
you're saying he didn't look as good with pads?
Yeah, like I think that he is going to be a little bit more of just a special teamer. And
now see, because here's Tay Martin on the left-hand side right here, and he's just got great quickness and great shiftiness. If you can watch him lose this guy. It's a drill.
He looks super confident too.
He definitely, I think, is going to be a good red zone guy. He's got short area quickness and great hands.
Yeah. Oh, that was another thing is I saw at least one time when I was watching Danny Gray, he got jammed pretty hard. Again, I think it might have just been a bad day.
Yeah, he's a speedster. He's a speedster that's going to be jammed up from time to time. Val Ramos says Purdy was good in college, and I watched a couple of his games. Yeah, look at Brock Purdy's numbers at Iowa State. They're good. They're good numbers. There's nothing about his numbers that make you say, "Wow, he's this or that." He may not have it. Not good numbers.
Yeah, Shante Ortega says Purdy is pretty elusive. He is. He's a little. He's like that classic thing where I'm sure he was probably the most athletic guy. He's probably if he played basketball, he's probably the best basketball player. It's always that crazy thing. But then once you get to the NFL, in comparison to everyone else, you're slow. But he is still. He's a young guy. He is still pretty quick.
No doubt. I mean, if you look at his numbers from college, though, he had good numbers at Iowa State. I mean, you're talking about decent completion percentage, and he's not tiny. I mean, he's 6'1", 220 pounds. He's definitely a little bit more substantial athlete than you think. And he throws the ball. What I like about him is if you watch him throw it, ball comes out on time. He's got a nice little rhythm to what he's doing out there.
It's like he's playing a different position than Trey almost. Like it's like he's playing the Jimmy G because it's this, I'm assuming it's the same offense, but it's just
he's the Arizona Gatorade Player of the Year in high school. Set the state record, state records, 4,400 yards, 57 passing touchdowns, and then lost 20 pounds as a junior due to having mono, and then led his squad to the state semifinals. So he went to LSU, and let's see, I guess landed at LSU, got on the field, started 8 of 10 games in 2018, honorable mention, or ISU, I should say, not LSU, and at, all Big 12. So, I mean, he had good numbers. If you look at it, he was the team captain. He's got 18 single season records. So, I mean, you're talking about a guy who was second team All Big Ten in 2021. He completed almost 72% of his passes, 19 touchdowns, 8 picks. It's pretty good.
I'm on his Wikipedia. I guess he has a brother that was recruited to Florida State as a dual threat. So that just goes to show he's an athletic dude.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, I think his sister was an athlete as well. But this guy's a 4-year starter. So 4-year starter in a major conference. And, he's a guy who's considered to be a team leader. So, I mean, he goes through his progressions for sure. He's pretty tough, throws with some anticipation. He definitely, if you say he's not, he definitely doesn't have, a big time NFL stature. He's not like 6'4", 240 or anything like that. But you know what? The ball comes out on time for the most part, and he's a pretty competitive kid. So I'm really eager to see what he looks like in the preseason.
Me too. Red Eye said Cone said McLeod was injured, showing pain, but trying to play through it instead of taking a break. I don't know if that was anything serious. I wrote down, Ray hobbling as one of the first series where he was, playing with the first strings, and he got bumped a little bit and just he just looked like he was in pain. And I thought he did walk to the sideline, but I don't know. It didn't look like anything super serious, but man, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but
you play one on television.
I play one on television on YouTube.
If there's a lot of competition at wide receiver, but I look at this team as a team that's going to keep 6 wide receivers. So Ayuk, Debo, Jawan Jennings, 1, 2, 3. Then you got Danny Gray, most likely. Ray McLeod, that's 4 or 5. So if they keep 6, that means everybody else from Malik Turner to Keyshawn Johnson, Marcus Johnson, Tay Martin, Tayseer Mack, they're all competing for maybe one spot. So they're pretty stacked at wide receiver for sure.
No, for sure. Some of the lesser guys, it's like I feel almost bad. It's like they've got so much depth. And it's like, there's only one spot. 81 had a great play today. I forget who that is, 81, but
that's Marcus. Let's see. Let me double check that.
Marcus, no.
Yeah, Austin Mack.
Yep. So Austin Mack had a great catch today. It just seems like they've got a lot of guys. Okay, and then. People are asking about Mosley, an extension for Mosley before the season starts. I mean, it's interesting. Just if they think he's going to have this monster year.
Red Ice is saying 3 years, 30 to 35 million with 20 to 25 guaranteed. That seems a little rich.
A little rich.
Yeah, a little rich for Mosley.
Or at least in for the Niners. Yeah. Shoot, what else was a big thing?
I'll say this, one of the best parts about the 49ers this year compared to a year ago is the depth on the corner.
Yeah.
So I mean, look at the depth right now. You've got Emmanuel Mosley, you got Charvarius Ward, you got Darqueze Dennard, who showed like a veteran last year how quickly he learned the Niners system. And then you've got, Diamador Lenore year 2. You got Ambry Thomas year 2. You got Samuel Womack, Quantrez Knight, Tariq Castro Fields. You still got Jason Verrett here. So I mean, they've got some guys at corner, and the competition. Usually, teams keep 5 or 6 corners at the most. The competition is going to be severe because you got Mosley, Charvarius, Darqueze Dennard. Those are your top 3 guys. Womack, Ambry Thomas, and Lenore, that's 6 right there. Verrett 7, Quantrez Knight's 8, Tariq Castro Fields 9. You know what I'm saying? They've got more corners than they've got spots for corners. So that's going to be an interesting thing at the cut down for sure.
I totally agree. Somebody asked, is Jared Cook available? Going back to the Sue thing, Trent Williams said something interesting. It was just kind of like us fans. He's like, you got to give a lot of credit to John Lynch and Shanahan and all those guys. Because he said, they bring in these guys who I've never heard of. I've literally never heard of them, like most of you, I'm guessing. And then they come in and they're awesome and they fit exactly what we need and they're perfect for their roles. And it seems like the Niners are a little bit anti-Rams, or the Rams or the Bucks. It seems like a real Rams or Bucks move to get Julio or bring in Sue for a year or pick up Jared Cook. I think that the Niners there's a great camaraderie, it seems like, amongst this team, and everyone's trying to help everyone get better. And
well, it's a good mix of young and old. I mean, if you have too many veteran players, that can be bad. If there's too many young players, that can be a bad thing. But ultimately, you just need talent, whether they're young or old. You need guys that can play the positions, right? So it's gonna, and you can lose it in 1 year in the NFL. Because that's how short careers are. So it's really going to be interesting to see what they look like in the preseason. I think just by judging training camp the last week, there's great competition in this camp. There really is, almost every spot.
Seriously. And I mean, what kind of surprised me, I think a big thing for all of us was what's the O-line going to look like? And I got to take Trent Williams at his word. He was saying he thinks the O-line is, a couple deep across the board. So that's great to hear. It seems like everyone is pretty confident in their depth. Even if it's
last year, look at all the new bodies they have on the O-line for the 49ers this year. I mean, they didn't feel comfortable going with Aaron Banks last year. Now you got Jalen Moore. He's another year older. Spencer Burford sounds like he's the plug-and-play starter at right guard. And then you got the kid from Fordham and Donovan West. And you've got, Jason Poe, who they like, and Sam Schluter played at Minnesota. Not to mention Colton McKivitz, who's, a proven veteran who can play a bunch of different spots. So they're well fortified on the offensive line. They got to coach them up a little bit. There's some younger players there. But you kind of knew in minicamp that somebody would emerge out of Donovan West, Spencer Burford, Jason Poe, out of the young offensive linemen they had, somebody was going to emerge, and it wound up being Spencer Burford.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, we were doing the draft show, and if you told us, the Niners with their second, if you said guaranteed you have a starting guard for the team next year, a guaranteed, almost not guaranteed, but a legitimate, he's going to have to really screw up starter by the time training camp hit. If you could get that with the second round pick, I think we would have been like, sure, take him in the second round. And instead we ended up with Burford. And that's what he's filling in. It seems like he is a guy. It seems like he's going to be one of their starters, and it's just awesome because he's so young. And
Chiquio 56 says, Krueg, if Purdy beats out Sudfeld, would Sudfeld be practice squad? I would have concern going into the season with a rookie backing up Trey. Well, you know what? Ultimately, it's going to come down to who moves the team best in the preseason. I don't think Sudfeld is so accomplished that if Purdy moves the team better, that Sudfeld would be the 2. I really believe that whoever moves the team better between Purdy and Sudfeld will be that number 2 quarterback going into the regular season. I think in an ideal world, they'd like it to be Sudfeld. They've paid Sudfeld a little bit of money to be that number 2, but if I'm betting right, Purdy's going to outplay Sudfeld. I bet you there'll be people that will claim that Purdy's more efficient than Trey. Purdy's played a lot of football and played it at a pretty high level. And when you watched him in some of the team parts of the mini camp, I mean, he moves well, he throws well on the move, and the ball comes out on time, and it's very, very accurate. So I'm pretty confident in Brock Purdy.
Yeah. I really like him. I mean, here's the other thing with the quarterback situation is, I mean, the Giants are now the favorites for Jimmy, and I have scoured the web for the scenario that kind of makes sense, and I can't really figure it out. I don't really understand why the Giants would trade Daniel Jones for Jimmy G. And I don't.
Well, it's Brian Dable year 1, and Daniel Jones did not have his 5th-year option picked up. He's been a turnover machine. I believe he's had 36 fumbles in 3 years. Is that right? Like 12 a year. It's a crazy number of fumbles and a ridiculous number of turnovers. So there's been speculation that it could be Tyrod Taylor or Daniel Jones. That maybe Daniel Jones would be the guy they stick around with, the Giants, and then bringing Jimmy to kind of hold his feet to the fire, or maybe they would move Tyrod Taylor to the 49ers, who has some experience playing for Anthony Lynn. In a lot of ways, Tyrod Taylor would be a perfect complement to Trey as a veteran quarterback who's athletic and been there and done that, and a guy that he can confide in and watch film with. So I don't know. I don't know how locked in the 49ers are to Sudfeld, despite the fact they're paying him a little money, and Brock Purdy. And if they move Jimmy, would it be for a pick? Would it be for Daniel Jones in a pick? Would it be for Tyrod Taylor in a pick? Who would you rather have between Tyrod Taylor, who's more of a proven backup, but maybe a pretty good one, as opposed to Daniel Jones, who might be a starter, but he also might just be a guy who's going to turn the ball over a ton no matter where he plays, starting off the bench. It doesn't matter. Daniel Jones turns it over. Which of those quarterbacks, if you had to have one coming back, would you rather invest in?
I think just for the health of the franchise, I would have to go Tyrod. Trey's going to struggle. And when he struggles, the backup quarterback is always the most popular man in town. And when it's a guy who's, was former top 6 pick and that has a bunch of tools and, you can talk yourself into, what would he look like under Shanahan? I just don't want that controversy. But then the other thing is but then why would I guess the Niners would do Jimmy G. Like they would like to have Tyrod Taylor, but I mean, they could have had Tyrod Taylor. They could have traded Jimmy for a pick and then signed Tyrod Taylor. It just seems like I guess the Giants would have to give up a pick in that deal, a pick plus Tyrod for Jimmy. But then why would the Giants do that? Why would you trade?
Because you don't think, maybe you think Tyrod's a backup, and maybe you think Jones is a starter and Jones can't do it. And if you're Brian Dable, maybe you looked at it in the offseason and you said, well, you know what? We don't know what we have in Jones, so let's take a look at Jones. And then maybe you go to minicamp and you're like, let's take one more look in training camp. And then you see him the first week in training camp. You're like, you know what? This guy's just not our guy. And then let's, be decisive and make a determination and get down the road. So, everybody looks at things a little different. Everybody's decision-making processes are a little bit different.
Yeah. Mike L says wrong. Maybe I said something wrong. I'm not sure.
Wrong.
Expand,
just
please,
wrong. James Foster, $1.99. How about Jimmy to Chicago? Makes sense? No? That would really, they're not going to play Justin Fields.
Oh my God.
I think I'd rather have Justin. Now Jimmy's from Chicago.
Yeah, but if you're Jimmy, do you want to go into the same situation that you kind of just were in? I don't know.
If I'm Jimmy, I think I'd want to be in Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, if I was Jimmy, I'd want to be in Seattle, or I'd want to be. I mean, if it's only 6 games for Watson, that's probably not worth going to Cleveland. Also, Larry, for everybody that isn't aware, we did this thing where we did a team draft, and we have a whole sort of thing figured out where, for every regular season win that counts for something, then there's extra points for playoff wins. Larry, you got the freaking steal. We all thought it might have been, but I mean, if Watson's only out for 6 games, the freaking Browns are steal.
Oh, I know. I mean, and now that he's motivated and he's got, he's got a surrounding cast. Yeah, no, if somehow that happens, I got to think, though, the commissioner's going to suspend Watson for maybe the whole season. That'd be my guess. I don't think they're just going to say that's all right. That was a good suspension. I don't see it. I think they're going to tack on.
No, because that's going to be. You just don't want that it's not worth it if you're the league. I mean, the amount of tweets today, everybody thought that they were so funny and such geniuses when they tweeted out about how Calvin Ridley got suspended, but Deshaun Watson only got 6. It's like, okay, everybody realizes that. But with these sort of topics, people like to beat them into the ground because they'll get likes and they'll get retweets, and it's just an easy thing to say. And God, God help you if you're the guy on ESPN or Fox trying to make the argument against that. I mean, so it's just a bad look, especially, with the Ridley thing considered. I just wouldn't want that if I was Goodell. I'd at least want to, prolong it till a little bit later.
Lee Ving says, you see that? Rather have Daniel Jones than Tyrod, not joking. I mean, Daniel Jones is 6'5", 6'6". He's a good-looking quarterback prospect. He just turns the ball over all the time, and his team loses. Now, how much is that because the Giants had a horrendous offensive line, and he hasn't been supported all that great? That could be part of it. He sure was better for David Cutcliffe at Duke than he's been in the pros. On the other hand, you got Tyrod Taylor, who is a veteran number 2 quarterback who could really be a great asset for Trey as they watch film. And maybe that might be the priority, is get that veteran in the room who Trey can lean on in film sessions and can add another veteran voice to the room besides Brian Greasy.
Also, I feel like with if Trey goes down, if Trey's down for 3 or 4 games, I mean, Tyrod will be fine. Tyrod would be absolutely fine. He'd be able to do a lot of similar things versus if you got Daniel Jones coming in there, now all of a sudden if Daniel Jones plays well, then it's weird. There's maybe a controversy. And then there's the other, just keeping Purdy or Sudfeld. And then it's like going to be pretty hard to win those games.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I don't know, how do they compare Daniel Jones and Tyrod Taylor to Purdy and Sudfeld? For all we know, they feel like Purdy and Sudfeld are better than those 2 guys, or they could feel like, Jones is better, but Taylor's not, or Taylor's better, but Jones is not. So, I mean, you just don't know how the team feels about either the quarterbacks they have or the quarterbacks they potentially could get. Good stuff, man. A lot of good stuff from camp. We're about an hour in. Why don't we do this? Why don't we play our spots right here? And then we'll come back with some final thoughts on the Krueg Show.
Larry Krueger here for Telmetrics. Thanks to Casey Bateman and the good people at Telmetrics. If you're an occupational therapist, if you're an orthopedic surgeon, a chiropractor, a physical therapist of any kind, Telmetrics is designed for you to use in your practice and will greatly benefit your patients. Telmetrics uses computer vision and artificial intelligence and provides a platform for outpatient rehab therapy services, both in the clinical and the telehealth environments. So using Telmetrics can improve your patient's experience and much more. So for all your sports injury needs, or if you're a physical rehabilitation specialist of any kind, make sure you use telmetrics.co, TELMETRIX.co. And thanks to Casey Bateman and all the good people at Telmetrics for being a proud sponsor of the Krueg. I'd like to thank our sponsor, Dan Coach Emilio. Dan is a buddy, and he is is a phenomenal retirement planning specialist, and you can contact him today at securemoney.com or at his number 925-628-9966. There's a lot of uncertainty in our world right now, and you want to make sure that your money is secure. That is the key. Danny's got 25 years of experience, born and raised right here in the Bay Area, and he can help you get an immediate 10% premium bonus on your principal retirement account. So give him a call, 925-628-9966. He'll make an appointment with you, and you can sit down. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of a deal. He'll consult with you and come up with a strategy to get you going to where you want to be. Once again, 925-628-9966, securemoney.com on the web. And thanks to Tony Cassera and the good people at Cassera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krueg Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krueg Show t-shirt, the Krueg Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Cassera and get yourself a Krueg Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com. Often imitated, never equaled.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. You know, how can you go to church if you don't believe in God? You know, and along with the sausage also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
Coming down the home stretch on the Krueg Show, Shanti Ortega says in the chat, the New York style Italian sausages were delicious last night. Shanti, we're glad that you enjoyed the New York style Italian sausages. MF says, thoughts on Justin School? Did you see the 49ers offensive tackle down there at all today, Rye?
Yeah, he was getting, give me 1 second. It looked like whenever, it was either McGlinchey or Trent Williams. Whenever they were out, he was one of the tackles.
So New York style sausage.
I didn't realize that the Giants-Dodger game already started. We stranded bases loaded in the first inning.
I did not. I have not seen that yet. Let me see. Let me flip over.
We got one run, but still. And then Lair, I think while I'm looking through my notes, you have something possibly the most exciting thing ever in the Krueg show. You want to tease what that is tonight? A little Pasquale magic?
Yes. Our good friends at New York Style Italian Sausage have sent us some new promotional videos that we will debut tonight on the post-game Giants-Dodgers show. 1-0 Giants, top 2. Logan Webb on the mound for the Giants. But in the postgame, we will debut some new Pasquale. I tell you. MF says the Giants just acquired another no-name player from the Rays. Do we know who that was?
I'm going to have to look it up.
We'll have to look that one up. Jim Laces missed a lot of you last night for Krueg Show Sunday dinner. It's a can't miss. MF, I had the spicy Italian last night during a Giants win. Here we go. MF, love the music.
Shante Ortega is saying tease, fella, tease. I don't want this to be too overblown, but I think tonight's going to be, kind of an all-time show. We got Giants Dodgers. We've got rumors. Just,
this is it. This is the big trade deadline thing. I'm going to talk a lot about Juan Soto, the John Paul Morosi video. Maybe we can play some of that. Morosi basically says the Giants don't sleep on the Giants for Juan Soto.
Oh, Larry.
I talked to Dan Cochimilio for over an hour today with no cameras on. It's the first time that I've spoken to Dan without the cameras rolling. And we talked about Juan Soto. What were you going to say about MF?
MF tagged all of us in a tweet bashing Marty. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. He tagged us all in a tweet. One of those guys that, there's this guy on Twitter. He's at the Suplex Source. Okay. His name's Kevin. He has a profile picture of Barry Bonds, and in his bio says MLB Insider. So I was like, oh, who's this clown? Guy's got 10,000 followers. So I was somewhat intrigued. And he tweeted out, and obviously there's a really good chance that this is total bull, but as Giants fans, it's just nice to have hope sometimes. And he tweeted out, God, this guy tweets a lot. He tweeted out, and I actually messaged him, and there's a chance he may call into the Krueg show. He has a source that says the Giants are close to acquiring Juan Soto. All Luciano, Harrison, Matos.
Wait. Let me write it down. Doval, Luciano,
Harrison,
Kyle Harrison,
Matos, Yaz, and Wade are heading to the Nats.
So basically, Camilo Doval, Marco Luciano, Kyle Harrison, and Luis Matos. Those 4 guys, and then 2 guys. 6-player, 7-player trade.
So I inboxed.
Coach Amelia says, I saw the tweet. I think it's BS. Yeah.
I DM'd him. I said, hey, man, do you actually have a source on the Soto to the Giants? And he threw me a bunch of eyeball emojis and said, yes. And I said, I have no problem, even if it's just kind of a weird source. I'm no capital J journalist. Any idea when the trade would be announced, Giants or not? And then he said, probably won't happen tonight, but I'm hearing soon. But yes,
the trade deadline's tomorrow.
I know. But yes, the Giants are getting him. There's a lot of moving parts. And then I said, damn, do you have any other trades you put out first that you got right? Just as I was like, can I get some sort of credibility? And he hasn't responded.
Well, I will say this. Farhan said, oh, look at that. Is that gone? Did he catch it? It's gone.
Oh,
did he catch it? No, it's gone. Max Muncy just hit a 2-run bomb.
Damn
to
it.
Center. God, I hate Max Muncy.
I hate Max Muncy. Yeah.
Seriously.
So, and then here's the other thing is I want to believe, obviously, but I looked through.
Max Muncy, dead center.
God damn
Slater have a shot? Come on, Slater, time your jump.
I mean,
I think Slater might be kind of overrated. I mean, what the hell's that? What are you doing there?
Well, it's not like this is his home ballpark, so.
I mean, you got to go over the wall to take it back. You can't go 3 feet into the wall. I mean, Slater. I don't know. Slater is not my favorite, but I know there are a lot of people who like Slater. Interesting. I'll say this. Danny and I agreed. It's really, really, really difficult to make a bad trade for Juan Soto. Yes. Also, if you're Farhan, he's very cautious.
Slater.
I know. He's very, very, very cautious. But whoever gets Juan Soto gets the sure thing. So if you're Farhan, do you want to take a shot on these maybe prospects, or do you want a sure thing? And then the fact that he referenced that they have the wherewithal to get a superstar player, why would you even say that unless you were planning on making it happen? So, and the Giants need this player, and they can, even this trade. I mean, if this was the deal, Camilo Doval, Marco Luciano, Kyle Harrison, Luis Matos, Yaz, and Wade, that's painful. Probably the most painful would be Harrison and Matos for me. But I mean, you know what? It's Juan Soto. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's Juan Soto.
You're
talking about 23-year-old all-star. Most of these prospects are only like a year older than Juan Soto.
If that,
a year younger than Juan Soto.
Yeah. No, I mean, I seriously though, if the Dodgers get Juan Soto, I don't know what kind of thing we could organize, but there needs to be investigations, because the Nationals traded them Trey Turner and freaking Scherzer. They gave for the Dodgers 3 best prospects last year. You can't tell me that their system got so revamped that they're able then to beat a Giants offer for Juan Soto.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this: if the Giants again are just the stalking horse that makes the Dodgers pay more, I mean, that's going to be so sickening. So sickening if all of a sudden the Giants are just, well, no, they lost out. But I'll say this: if I were Mike Rizzo and I had Friedman on one line and I had Farhan on the other line, damn right Farhan's going to have to overpay, because the history of the Giants prospects succeeding is not that good compared to LA. And if I was Rizzo, if I want 5 prospects from LA, I want 6 from the Giants.
Absolutely. And somebody asked, is the Sports House, is this the only football show that ends in baseball? LOL. Probably.
Yeah.
But you know what? We've got a great show tonight, Giants Dodgers. So even you Niners fans that live in Bakersfield that are Dodgers fans, come hop on in, talk some mess if you win. Who cares?
Who knows? Maybe we'll finish our Giants show tonight talking a little football.
Yeah.
All right. Great stuff at camp today. We will talk to you in the post game.
Sounds great.
All right, for Ryan Smith, Larry Krueger, have a great night, everybody. Check us out on YouTube after the final pitch of Giants Dodgers. We'll break it all down and, of course, talk with you, get in the chats, and have a lot of fun. After Giants baseball, do not miss it.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need